But then you get some, you get some big player, right? You get some like football player or something like that they get on the after the game and they rock that style, and everybody's like, oh, look at him, and now suddenly it catches on. Look, it's the same thing in Forex. See, many traders, retail traders, lose because they wait for the big players to get in on the trend.
What's going on, everybody? This is Giunta with Team Take Profits. I'm here to help you trade and get paid. In today's video, we're going to be doing part 2 of the Forex Fashion series that we started last week. I got to make a little admission. I did exactly what I talked about last week. Check out the shirt. Nobody cares, work harder. I'll tell you what happened. I was watching Lamar Jackson, and my man has been balling, right? Everybody knows Lamar Jackson is a beast. This guy is for real. So I'm watching the game the other night, and I'm enjoying Lamar Jackson playing. And then on the post game, I see him wear this shirt. Nobody cares, work harder. And I'm like, man, that's a great shirt. I got to order one. The next day, I went out and ordered one. So I waited till the big player came in, and he was wearing the shirt, so I went and ordered it. So I did exactly what I said last week in the video. That wasn't planned, but I figured I'd wear the shirt and let you see. So anyway, in this video today, we're going to be talking about, we're going to basically take that next level of Forex fashion. Now, how do we put what we learned last week to practicality? How do we actually find the new trend beginning or the old trend ending? So we're going to get on the charts here in a second. Before we do, I just want to say thank you again. The likes, the comments, the subscribes. You guys are helping us grow the channel, and I appreciate all the support. So let's get to those charts. Let's find this new trend. See you on the charts.
So when we look at this, I use a red light, green light system, right? When we look at this here, when you're driving down the road, what does red mean?
Stop.
And yellow?
Slow down.
And green, of course, means go.
Go.
So when I do mark my chart, if I'm gonna mark a chart on an entry, I drop a green line and say when it hits there, and what I'll do is I'll set an alert on it, and I'll say when it hits this mark, that's when I want to enter, and I'll make sure I have confirmation. Maybe there's a crossover, maybe there's the parabolic SAR flip, or whatever it might be. But I find that entry, and I say that's where I want to go. If the market does this, if it turns green, if it hits that green, I know it's key for me to go. But I also know in these yellow zones here you see on the screen, that's cause for me to slow down, because these are tried and true zones. These are tried and true trends where whenever the market hits these areas, it's I'm not saying 100% sure, because again, in Forex, everything is about high probability, right? So I know that when it hits this line right here, when I go back, I know that the market generally in this zone between here and here, right? When we look at, I'll drop a little a square into it. But I know that generally between that zone, right, I know that generally the market respects this zone right here. So I don't want to be getting into a trade on a buy down here when I know that it's just about to hit a zone that it could possibly turn around, right? And I'll zoom in a second. I'm just trying to show you the lines. But down here, if things are telling me bullish, I want to be down here. Because now I know the next major zone that I have is way up here.
Right.
I don't want to be right here. Oh, everybody's already doing it. Everybody rocked it. LeBron did this. Now right in here, now I start to wear this, type of shirt. And by the time I start doing it, everybody stops doing it. Now I'm like, I missed the mark. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's the same thing with Forex. We don't want to get in way up here and say, here, look, the market tells me it's going up, right? So let's jump in. Well, you can't do that, because the market tells me that previous trends tell me that this is only a short time more before I'm going to hit a level of resistance that could possibly turn me around.
Mm-hmm.
So why would I want to get up here? I want to get in down here. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then my reds, those are my extreme highs and extreme lows that tell me it's almost a certainty. It is almost a certainty that when the market comes down to these levels, extreme low and extreme high, that we are about to see a turnaround. It was strong enough to break through all of this, but it came down here. That's a wrap. I'm done. I am no longer selling this. I don't care, because there is too much probability for a turnaround. It is at an all-time low. It is nearing levels that every single time I look back, it always is higher than this. Right? Now, when we look at it a little bit closer, we can see where the moving averages are telling us a lot as well. We can see where, this jumps up in there, it breaks through my zone, but I can see that moving average start to curve back down when it's up here, because I know that this thing is about to go. It's already hit a high level. So guess what? It's going to have to retest, and boom. Now, with the wedge that we just found,
Now, quick question.
Yeah.
You developed the wedge on the daily chart?
I developed a wedge on the 4-hour and the daily, which gave me confluence on the two charts.
Okay.
It showed when you see that showing you the same thing, that's an even further depth to your confirmation. So when you see this, right, you got the breakout. Now look what happens when I go to the 4-hour. There we go. Let me just do this. You got that wedge there, and then when it comes out, notice how that wedge was from the top of my yellow zone to the bottom of my yellow zone. Right? This is my slowdown zone. This is where my yellow light tells me to slow down, right? So my yellow light tells me to slow down. So when it came up here to the top of my zone and I started getting that falling wedge, where did it stop? At the bottom of my zone.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I had my breakout of the wedge, then I had to cross over at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And look where it went to, right back to the top of my zone. So what am I doing? I'm looking for confirmation. So why don't I get in down here? Well, because I don't have confirmation yet. You want to confirm a trend. You just don't want to wait for the trend to be done. So I wait for it to come out, and I got my crossover. It broke out. And once I seen that crossover, I knew the banks are in. This is a crossover. I know that I'm about to have a crossover outside of my wedge, and it's, my risk reward is there, 1 to 3, and so this is time to get in. I get in, and boom, look at that. So it goes right back to the top of my zone.
I have a question. Looking at this setup here,
Yep.
I guess I would be entering the trade on the 4-hour chart.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And you can look down. You can look down at like the 1 hour or whatever, something even a little smaller to kind of find precise entry if you want. But the way I trade, I just don't need that. I don't. For me personally, I'm not knocking somebody that does that. It's good. You should do it if you can. I've done this enough to I just don't need it. I know how to identify what I'm looking for on the 4-hour. But you got the same thing going on here. So you had that crossover. So right in here, these green candles. Remember, on a 4-hour chart, it takes 4 hours for one candle to open to close, right?
Right.
So this is a 1-hour chart. So each candle represents what?
1 hour.
So how many 1-hour candles are in a 4-hour candle?
4.
Perfect. So what do I got? I got the breakout, and then this is that little pullback candle, a little doji right here that we saw before the big green candle.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have this big substantial candle on the 4-hour chart. You got 1, 2, 3, and this little red one is the wick on the 4-hour chart. Right? So on a 1-hour chart, what do I have? I have the crossover back here, but I have that how it retested. Notice, watch the blue line, how it started to retest the yellow and then took off. Because on a 1-hour chart, you have to wait for that retest. On a 4-hour chart, it comes up and it just, and we already see it. It's a bigger move. So that 4-hour, this is that engulfing candle that we see right here, and that red, this little red one is the wick on top of the 4-hour engulfing candle. So yes, you can come down and see like it breaks out, retest, and go. Absolutely do it. Nothing wrong with that. You should do it. But yeah, go ahead.
My question is, let's say whether we're taking the 4-hour entry or the 1-hour entry, you see where you have your wedge and where it breaks out at the wedge, the same place where you have your crosses.
Yep.
When we take the trade, do we necessarily have to wait for the retest, or should we enter it once we see confirmation of the cross and when it breaks out of the wedge, or should we wait for the retest regardless?
If you're looking at the pattern on the 4-hour and then you're going to enter in off the 1-hour, you want to wait for the retest. Okay. So on the 1-hour, so like let's say if we're looking at that 4, let's just picture we're looking at that one big candle right here on the 4, right? We don't want to wait for that candle to be over with. So what we would do if you're coming down to the 1-hour to find entry, here's the breakout, and then you would want to wait for this. And that's where you'd get in right here when you see that retest and you see that moving average start to turn back up. This is your that little, you see that spinner top right there?
Right.
That spinner top is telling you it's time to get in, and that's the completion of your pullback, right? And so now you see the spinner just means it's going to spin the market. So when you see that, you got that pullback, and there you go. So that spinner top is the key to get in. Next candle, you're in.
And what if we were going to enter on a 4-hour?
Okay, perfect. And good question. And so if you're going to enter on the 4-hour, then you've already had the pullback, because look, you still have the spinner top there. You just have it a little bit earlier. Because remember, the 4-hour is just combining 4 1-hour candles, right? So essentially, all that little sideways movement you saw on the 1-hour out when it broke out, that little pullback, that's all wrapped up in these 2 candles right here. Does that make sense? Yep. So you got it broke out. You had this little tiny green doji that opened outside of the wedge, and then you got this little red. That's your pullback, and then you got the crossover right there on that this doji candle right here. There's the crossover. So next candle I get in, boom. Right. So as soon as you see that crossover, next candle, get in.
Makes sense.
Yep. And so that's all that confirmation. I got the falling wedge. My crosses are coming closer to the top. I'm coming closer to the bottom. Price action's coming closer to the bottom. Crosses are coming closer to the top. I'm about to break out. As soon as I break out, crossover happens, I'm in.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Makes sense.
Yep. So and now how do I know that? Now, if this were happening and it were nowhere near a yellow line, do I want to do that? I mean, well, yeah, you got a falling wedge, you got some cool things happening, but like, I don't know that this thing is solid. I don't know that this is here to stay. But when I come down here and I have all of those confirmations on top of a major support line, that tells me, hey, this is very high probability. That's the key. Understanding high probability, right? You're not looking for something that's going to guarantee you, because there's nothing in Forex that's a guarantee. You're looking for high probability setups. I can't tell you that this is coming down to a major level, so it's guaranteed to go up. But I can tell you that it's coming down to a major level, and it's probable that it could go up. Now let's see if there are any other confirmations. Well, I got all the things I talked about. You got the parabolic SAR flip. You got the crossovers that are happening. You got the falling wedge. You got the zone. You got the very fact that it tried to break the high zone before and couldn't. It comes back down. So that means this is a pullback from that zone. There's a lot of confirmation on top of the fact that it's a trend. So, but the first and foremost thing that I did before, I can't do anything. Look, forget this, right? Forget all of the indicators. Forget moving averages. Forget parabolic SAR. Forget all of that. Just looking at one thing and one thing only. This is coming down from the top of a zone to the bottom of a zone. That's the first thing I find, right? This is coming from the top of the zone to the bottom of the zone. That's the very first thing I find. That is the basis of why I'm looking at this as a trade. Because the marks that I marked a year ago are becoming tried and true again. It's coming back to revisit this trend. It's coming back to something that I know is tried and true. Now, are there other levels of support and resistance in between here? Absolutely, 100%. I could sit there and mark line after line and have 1,000 lines on here, right? But that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for things that are tried and true, that the market has respected year in and year out. I'm looking for zones that I know are going to happen over and over and over again, and I don't need to reach. I'm not desperate for a trade. I'm not looking to reach for just any old trend. I'm looking for those tried and true zones that I know are going to work year in, year out, month in, month out. These things are going to be revisited, and they are true zones that I know the market is going to respect.
All right, everybody, there you have it. I hope this video was a help to you. Forex Fashion Part 2. And I really hope that you're able to see the bigger picture now. Understanding when to identify when a real, true, high probability trend is starting or when one is ending. That's the real purpose here. It's not just taking any little trend that, turns around in the market, but it's really zooming out, if you would, seeing the big picture and finding those high probability, tried and true trends that aren't going away. I appreciate also all the comments and the social media people reaching out to me and letting me know that how the channel and the videos have been helping them. Man, it really is an encouragement. That's why we do this, is to help you. Again, we say it every video. We want to help you trade and get paid. So if you haven't seen the opportunities that we have, make sure you go check out the website. We updated it. It's looking great. TradeAndGetPaid.com. Go to the website and see all the different options we have for mentoring and videos. There's all kinds of stuff that's not on YouTube on that website. So go check it out. Again, that's TradeAndGetPaid.com. Oh, as always, make sure you click below, like, comment, subscribe, and let's keep growing this channel. Let's keep putting out value. God bless. We'll see you on the next video.